So here's the thing. Riverdale is a truly terrible show. Even by the somewhat lower standards used to measure teen drama, this show is an utter mess. It's sloppy, it's cliched, it never knows where it's going or what it's doing. It's ridiculous. It is also completely and utterly addictive, and the paradox of it is that everything that makes it a terrible show also makes it compelling and extremely watchable. So today, nerds, we are going to take a look at this beautiful mess of a show and explore the reasons why it has succeeded where it ultimately should have failed. Riverdale started as a fairly run-of-the-mill series. Conceived as a darker and edgier take on the beloved Archie comics, it was developed by the CW as a successor to shows such as Teen Wolf and Pretty Little Liars. The first season unfolded itself into a standard teen drama, and many of the usual cliche tropes and character archetypes were present, starting with the all-around American hero, his girl-next-door love interest, the reformed rich bitch trying to make amends who threw the group dynamic into turmoil, and the weird loner outsider who doesn't conform to societal expectation. Throw in a love triangle, several false romantic leads, an abundance of parental issues, and some shady goings-on over on the south side of town, and Riverdale had all the makings of your average teen soap. Despite its claims of being a subversive take on the Archie comics, as well as its attempt to be a murder mystery a la Veronica Mars or Twin Peaks, there was nothing particularly groundbreaking or fantastical about Riverdale's first season. Archie Andrews was still the indecisive protagonist, albeit more good-looking and much more of a typical teen romantic lead than he'd ever been before. Jughead Jones was still the outsider with the weird hat and huge appetite. Betty and Veronica still fought over Archie, while Cheryl Blossom was hinted as the take-a-third option love interest. And the standard and old tropes of teen drama still played out, with typical middle-class teen drama problems such as teen pregnancy, pursuing passion versus pursuing stability, rebelling against parents, and the turmoils of star-crossed romances. The show was comfortable, familiar, and, to be honest, somewhat boring. While certain episodes hinted at more serious themes such as teen homelessness, parental abuse, and criminal activities such as drug dealings and under-the-table deals, the series did not have a lot of depth to it. There were fairly solid, if somewhat cliched characters, storylines which were just interesting enough to watch but were executed with a tone of banality, and so many problematic aspects that even fans who loved the show couldn't help but focus on negative elements such as a student-teacher relationship, over-sexualization of teen characters, and questionable treatment of minority characters. Ending the season with the reveal of Jason Blossom's murderer and beloved character Fred Andrews being shot, the show was miraculously renewed for a longer second season, and fans waited with not so bated breath to see what would unfold. Had Season 2 of Riverdale continued in the same vein as Season 1, it is my personal belief that the show would have folded. As mentioned, for its first season, Riverdale was a fairly formulaic and standard teen drama. There was nothing particularly wrong with it, but nothing about the first season really stood out or broke any type of new ground. Season 1 was safe. Its storylines and characterizations took few risks, its narrative steady and predictable. Season 2, however, changed this. At first it seemed as though the second season would follow in the footsteps of the first, with an overall mystery. This time around, the mystery being who shot Fred Andrews and why. However, it soon became apparent that the writers had something different in mind for their second installment, with the introduction of the Black Hood and another shooting taking place in the second episode of the season. Events escalated as the Black Hood closed in on the town of Riverdale and specifically targeted Betty Cooper in a disturbingly dark storyline which unfolded quickly, if somewhat clumsily. Abandoning the murder mystery feel it had attempted in its first season, Riverdale soon started to feel more like a slasher film, with increasingly dark twists and turns along the Black Hood highway. Not content to stick with one genre, Riverdale started to blend more subgenres together, bringing in Hiram Lodge, Veronica's shady father, previously a mere threat hanging over Season 1. With Hiram came an attempt at the gangster genre, with themes explored and events taking place which would not have felt out of place in a film such as Goodfellas, although executed in a much sloppier and cheesier manner. Hiram incited chaos and violence in the town, seemed to have his fingers in half a dozen pies and brought out the absolute worst in everyone around him. Seemingly unable to stop there, the show also threw in a North vs South gang war style plot, with previously sympathetic and wooby-ish Jughead Jones leading the charge, erupting in an all-out civil war in Riverdale. Tensions escalated, plots thickened, and episodes became so crazy and out of control that it was hard to keep up with the events unfolding on screen. The show became a crazy, adrenaline-fueled rollercoaster ride, unpredictable and wild. Throughout all of this, romantic subplots marched on, with the relationships in the show being the only leftover remnants of the initial teen drama genre from season 1. Not only did the writers throw every rule out the window when it came to plot, narration, and storytelling, they also obliterated the characterization they had laid down in season 1. Archie Andrews went from a mild-mannered, somewhat boring and indecisive musician to a brooding, violent vigilante, willing to be Hiram Lodge's dragon and coming close to committing murder on more than one occasion. Hermione and Veronica Lodge, both previously shown to have serious qualms and fears when it came to Hiram's dealings, both willingly followed him into the belly of the beast, aiding and abetting with little to no consideration to consequences. Betty Cooper gravitated away from her Mary Sue girl-next-door persona and became an unstable and unpredictable mess, blackmailing grieving families and turning people over to serial killers. Sympathetic and likeable Jughead Jones morphed into a violent strawman crusader, a gang leader who was willing to mutilate women and wanted to be angry simply for the sake of being angry. Characters changed from episode to episode, adjusting their personalities as the story called for it, with no consistency, rhyme, or rhythm, in a fascinating mess of characterization which was based on plot and plot alone. Now a mess of subplots, genre, and bad characterization, the show morphed into an out-of-control monster when nothing made sense and everything happened at once, twisting itself into an elastic band of craziness and inconsistency. Yet here's the kicker. This madness, this lack of direction or cohesiveness, the characters changing at a whim, the storylines running wild like a rabid beast, while all of this worked to make the series worse, it also helped to actually make it much more intense, addictive, compelling, and watchable than season 1 could ever have hoped to be. Without the pretense of trying to create subversive or groundbreaking drama, the show could embrace its main strength, which lay in the absurdity of its characters and plot. There is a certain freedom which comes from embracing a show's flaws and saying screw it to the rulebook. Television these days has become so concerned with being an art form, with telling in-depth stories which make some sort of deep social commentary, that it almost seems at times that it's forgotten that above everything else, television shows are supposed to be entertaining. Shows are supposed to be fun and larger than life, and they don't always have to be making some sort of deep allegory or pointing out the flaws in society. They also don't always have to be the most sophisticated or innovative art form. While good dialogue, tight direction, tonal consistency, and solid characterization are always pluses and are definitely appreciated by audiences and critics alike, there is something to be said for shows which don't seem to give a crap about this and instead just follow their own whims and desires. The paradox of Riverdale is that by embracing its own badness and playing up all its worst qualities, it somehow rescued itself from disappearing amongst the throng of banal teen dramas. Its inconsistency and incorrigibility allows the audience a certain freedom when watching. If every character is inconsistent and abhorrent, there is no conflict in liking or hating whichever character you choose to. If no storyline makes sense, then it's easier to accept the ass-pulls and last-minute reveals as they pop up. If every episode is over the top and less concerned with tonal consistency, then it's easier to just enjoy the episodes for the sake of entertainment. Bad television thrives for a reason, and Riverdale is well on its way to becoming memorable for exactly that. Whether intentional or not, the showrunners have hit on something compelling, intriguing, and addictive, and, much like the train, which holds you fascinated even as you watch it derail from the tracks and explode, Riverdale has moved from something steady, banal, and forgettable to something audiences can't look away from, no matter how hard they try. Okay nerds, that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do you enjoy Riverdale? Do you think season 2 is better or worse than season 1? Do you agree with what I've said? Please come and let me know in the comments. I'll be back soon with a new video, so until next time nerds, stay well, as always please stay safe, and I will see you shortly. Mwah!